and welcome to TechNow, the web series for ServiceNow admins, builders, developers of all skill levels on a wide variety of ServiceNow platform topics. My name is Chuck Tomasi from ServiceNow, and I am excited to be here. It's that time again when we get to roll out the red carpet for the new release and see what's new. This has been a lot of fun incoming. First, the introduction. I'll get into the content. Don't worry. We'll get into the content. My name is Chuck Tomasi, class of 2008, let's call it. ServiceNow sysadmin class of 2008. We'll go back that far. I was a customer for a couple of years, and then in 2010 was brought onto the company. Thankfully, very grateful for that transition. And boy, howdy, what a lot of changes since 2010. Actually, since 2008.
That's right.
It's been a wonderful journey. There's news stories popping up all the time that make me go, wow, we're doing that? We're going there? Yes, we are. Welcome to the new ServiceNow. Let's see. Other things about me. Knowledge 10 through this. Knowledge is coming up. We'll talk about that in a second. Live Coding Happy Hour. TechNow since 2013. This is episode 72. So we've been doing this a while. And there's a whole library. We'll give you a link to that. Actually, there's one in the resource pool if you're watching live. We'll give you that at the end. So you can read all about my bio and whatnot on the screen there. But in the interest of time, let's move on. I'm going to introduce Craig Stepp. Actually, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Craig Stepp. I'm the program manager of Cloud Labs. I handle all the little back-end infrastructure for to make the instances that you would see when you take one of our classes or attend of our workshops, sometimes snugs, especially at Knowledge, any of that kind of stuff where you take the labs and you get your own login. That's where I work in the background there, kind of lurking and making sure everything works. But enough about that. I specialize in cloud automation and orchestration. I've done that for a long time here at ServiceNow. I've been at ServiceNow from 2014 to present, which I'm quickly coming up on 6 years. And
congratulations.
And I'm either going to thank or blame Chuck, so it's all his fault that I came over here.
Love you right back.
Yeah, right. So I've been a co-host of TechNow since 2016, and it's been a lot of fun. We've covered a lot of topics, and I've learned a lot of stuff, handling some topics that I really didn't know much about, quite frankly. So it's actually been a learning experience. Being a ServiceNow in general, like Chuck said, has been a learning experience. Working with a lot of wonderful people and doing things that I never thought I would be doing in the past. And, of course, I love podcasting, photography, and I dabble in Linux a lot. I've been a Linux user for well over 20 years now. So, I know my bash as good as anybody else, I guess.
On that podcasting note, Craig,
yes,
we've known each other since 2005, January 2005. So happy anniversary, buddy.
Same to you, Chuck.
It's been 15 years. It's hard to believe already.
I know. It seems like we just started podcasting yesterday, and now we're it's 15 years later. Wow.
We're old timers.
No, that's right. And not with us is Jeremy Duncan. He's out today. He's got the day off. He's on special assignment. So he'll be back next time, but he's a platform architect at ServiceNow, and you can go back a couple of videos and you can see some of his handiwork. And I didn't want to say anything else about Jeremy, so he'll be back next time.
He is Rookie of the Year at our sales kickoff last week, so congratulations to him.
Rookie of the Year. How about that?
Yes, SC Rookie of the Year. So he's a solution consultant, done a wonderful job, and welcome aboard. So look forward to having him back.
He's still working on the Rookie of the Year for TechNow, so he's still got some time.
We have such a thing. We got to work on that.
Yeah, well, he would be the rookie, so that's right.
All right, then let's go on. I believe, you know what, we've done our topic. We'll do the topic intro. This looks like we forgot to update this particular slide. This is not the right agenda. It's all Orlando in this topic. I apologize. We missed one slide. I'm not sure how we did that. We had multiple people reviewing, and this one got biased. So ignore that agenda at the top. This is not the agenda you're looking for.
That's right.
We're going to be talking all about the Orlando platform features in this. We don't have a community quick tip this time around. I want to make sure that we've got the time to cover exactly what you came here for, and that is it. we will be having a live Q&A as the intro suggested. If you're watching live, there's a Q&A panel. Put your question in there, and we will get to it ASAP. If we don't answer all your questions, we do post these back to the community post that will have this. Due to the timing, this is a special edition for our developer program. And thank you, everybody who showed up and participated in this and being part of the developer program. The public won't see this until March when we do our general availability market launch. So this is going to be a super secret link that you've got that is special to you. We want to make sure that the people who have early access in January, because our early access came out just last week as we record this, have that access to the information such as this to get enabled and start exploring and understand what's part of Orlando. But it's part of that early access program. So we're sort of, peeking under the curtain a little bit to see what's going on. And that's why the general public doesn't get this. I know it's a big mess, and I wish I could just say, here, everybody. But times change. So that's our agenda. Craig, I'm going to turn it over to you because the next few slides are more sane than that last one.
All right. And, speaking of, once again, here it comes, knowledge. And I say once again because this is like the sixth year I've been in knowledge. And actually handled all the back end stuff. But if you haven't gotten in, you can still get in. Save the date, May 3rd through 7th.
95 days from the time we're recording this.
95 days. How about that? It'll be here before you know it.
It's not a lot.
Yeah, before you know it, it'll be Christmas of 2020. So
stop it.
If you want, stop it. Anyway, so be sure to get out the knowledge. It'll be in Orlando, Florida. We had a great time when we were in Orlando last time for knowledge, and we were in Vegas for the last year, and now we're back in Orlando. So it'll be a lot of fun. There's all kinds of stuff to do. There are a lot of networking opportunities with other people. You can brainstorm with a lot of those people that you meet because they're all have like-minded goals and all kinds of. Trying to think of the word I'm looking for. I guess goals is as good as anything is. Trying to do the same thing with ServiceNow, develop applications, learning about the products. And this is a great place to do it because not only can you attend and talk to these people, but we have all those great workshops with a lot of great content across all the different topics that we offer at ServiceNow. Not only that, but you can get in a little early and take the pre-con. We do have some pre-con opportunities. So if you want to take some of the courses that we offer from ServiceNow, if you're going to be in Orlando, it's a good time to take them because I think you might get a discount. I'm not 100% on that for taking it during the con. So a couple days before, you can take those classes and get those out of the way and work on certifications. And speaking of implementing some of this stuff that you may see at Knowledge, that's where the Success Center comes in. So if you go to servicenow.com/success, you can read white papers on how other people have implemented products from ServiceNow, maybe looked at how somebody solved certain problems. You can look at customer testimonials. There's a lot of information in there, a lot of code exploring. So if you have any questions, there's a great wizard that'll walk you through and try and get you to the right topic at the Customer Success Center, and that's over at servicenow.com/success. And once you get your hands dirty, once you get your feet wet and your hands dirty, or both.
Feet dirty, hands wet.
Yeah. Go to the developer site at the developer.servicenow.com, and you can get personal developer instances, so you can try stuff out without impacting anything in your own instance, maybe your company's instance. You can work on a sandbox instance. That way you can see if things work, try again. You can
explore what's new in Orlando.
Yeah, play around with it. There's early access to releases, like you said, Orlando, which you're going to see a lot of that here today. There's documentation on the scripting API, all the way down to meeting up with Snugs with some developer events. All that's listed there. So you can continue that communication with other like-minded individuals at the Snugs, which is a lot of fun too. So go there. There's a lot of videos. You name it. It's all there at the developer.servicenow.com. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. C.
All right, I'm going to try and go slowly on this because I get very excited and very passionate about this. So if I'm talking too fast, Craig, feel free to jump in and say, slow down, buddy.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm understood, but also get that excitement across.
Well, we do have a lot to get in here, so you might want to. You do want to pick it up a little bit.
All right. I know how to do this. Not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
Okay. I do have to start with the safe harbor statement. I'm not going to read this entire thing to you. What it says is this presentation covers things in Orlando, which is not at the time of this release, is at the time of this recording. It's officially released for general availability in a little while. So if something is in this video, in this slide deck that doesn't come out in March of 2019, you can't blame me. Don't send me to jail. It's part of the early access. Something may be pulled, something may change brand name. It's just the way it is. So don't blame us. What you see here is what exists today, but it may not end up in the general availability. Small chance of that, but it is possible. Okay. So I'm going to break down the Orlando platform features into 5 major topics. It's going to be mobile, Now Intelligence, developer experience, integrations and automation, and the Now Platform Foundation enhancements. You'll recognize them quite easily because they'll have a transition like this slide for mobile.
It's a beautiful slide, too.
That was the only notes I had on that slide. So let's get started with mobile. Since launching our mobile apps in New York, we've heard from you, our wonderful, delightful customers, that you want to adjust the look and feel of the apps better to your own organization's brand and theme. So in Orlando, we're launching mobile branding and allowing you to completely white label the mobile app experience. You will be able to create your own icons for the apps, which will be shown on the home screen of the mobile devices in place of the standard ServiceNow icons. So you can move away from the green and go to the purple and orange if you're working for FedEx or something like that. You can also have the ability to add your own splash screen, which will be displayed while the application is loaded. And you can carry your brand's visual identity through the entire app by defining a primary and secondary color. Maybe it's orange and purple again, or purple and orange. That's used for the backgrounds and buttons. So after making your selections, you'll receive new packaged versions of your apps, which will be distributed to your users through your mobile device management platforms. Before you ask a bunch of questions, I don't have a lot of details on how that's happening. We should have that out by general availability time, and we are checking on that. That was a question asked yesterday in a different internal webinar. So keep your eyes open for that and how you brand and do that identity. Just for a note, this is a chargeable feature, so please reach out to your account team for pricing information. Also in Orlando, we're introducing our initial support for mobile application management, or MAM policies. We know that the bring your own device, or BYOD scenarios, are increasingly common, where you have your employees' personal devices accessing corporate data from basically anywhere. So mobile application management policies give you the controls to protect your company's data, even on personal devices. Policies for each app are set and managed through your organization's preferred MAM solutions like Microsoft Intune or BlackBerry Mobile Enterprise Mobility Suite. You can then use those controls to ensure mobile devices meet certain conditions before allowing access to the apps and company data. So you can do things like make sure devices meet corporate PIN and passcode standards, that they have the latest software updates, and that they haven't been jailbroken or rooted. We don't want those interfering with working with our corporate data. You can also restrict copy and paste and attachment sharing to only work with a single app, or configure it to allow for transfers between a few trusted enterprise applications. These controls help you prevent data from being accessed by insecure apps or from being stored on unapproved platforms. And what I like is when access needs to be revoked, administrators can remotely and securely remove company data without having to wipe or reset the user's entire device, which is kind of nice. So,
that is nice.
This is a chargeable feature. It's tied to the mobile branding that I just talked about, and it'll follow this same packaging. So again, talk to your account team if you want information on that. Moving on to mobile analytics. we've added mobile analytics to Orlando to give you visibility into exactly how mobile apps are being used, which parts are most useful, and which sections might be confusing or see low adoption. The visibility enables you to fine-tune the mobile apps and your own internal messaging so you can maximize employee productivity using their mobile devices. The mobile analytics provides trend information, heat maps, and even information about app crashes to proactively detect an issue before it becomes a bigger problem. This is not chargeable, so I'm going to include that information wherever possible. Mobile analytics is a platform-level capability, so it's available to all customers at no additional cost. Again, beginning in Orlando. We've also made some investments in simplifying the everyday experiences that happen on mobile. With photo search, woohoo, I love this one. Because users simply snap a picture of an object on their phone camera, and image recognition immediately identifies the object to find matching catalog items, services, and knowledge articles. So employees can use this to save time and quickly kick off any workflow, like getting help for a monitor or ordering a new cable or reporting an issue with a meeting room. Also, agents and fulfillers will also have an easier time scanning a large number of items with QR and barcode multi-scan. Agents can now scan groups of codes and review the list of assets before submitting them in bulk. Very nice. I've seen this in action. There's like 17 stickers on a box, and you hold up your camera and it gathers them all in one shot. Nice for when you're checking in a pallet of something. Finally, landing pages have been enhanced with the ability to hide empty sections of content. This is great, for example, if you want to be able to dynamically insert temporary campaigns or seasonal content into the app without affecting the appearance at other times. It also keeps landing pages clean and simple for users by hiding entire sections of tasks or requests if they're empty. No charge for this one either. This is a platform-level enhancement, and it's available to all customers. Hooray. Okay, let's talk about Now Intelligence. Now Intelligence is made up of performance analytics, virtual agent, predictive intelligence, natural language understanding, and a new member to the family in Orlando that you're going to find out very shortly. So starting in Orlando, you'll be able to embed performance analytics and reporting data into your mobile apps to create mobile dashboards to manage your business performance from anywhere. In Orlando, oh, hold on. Thought I had a keyboard issue. Nope, no problem. In Orlando, you'll be able to put a single score and time series widgets directly on application landing pages. And users can tap into any of the widgets to drill in and get more detail. From the detail screen, they see a full time series, trend chart, along with any targets they've set, and they'll even be able to drill into the individual records, just like you'd expect. Kind of nice. There's no charge for this, but it does require the appropriate PA, performance analytics packages, on the instance. So you can't just take charts and slap them on there. So be aware of that you got to have PA for that. Virtual Agent has been around for several releases. If you're new to it, it's our chatbot engine that lets you construct conversations to enable your users to get answers to their issues and questions without directly contacting a live agent. In Orlando, we've added Virtual Agent notifications. These allow users to receive important updates about requests they've made or be prompted to add information to a task without having to switch into ServiceNow. Because in Orlando, we've added the ability for Virtual Agent to initiate new conversations with users by sending notifications to their messaging app of choice, like Slack or Microsoft Teams. You could be happily working away, and Virtual Agent will pop up. Very cool. Virtual Agent is the notifications, are part of professional or enterprise packages that already include Virtual Agent. So again, got to check your licensing, talk to your account team on any of these things that involve licensing. But this is a new feature that comes out. Predictive intelligence. Okay, we came out with this a while ago. It remains our best way to simplify work with out-of-the-box machine learning for the Now platform, and we've made it even more powerful in this release. The clustering framework that was introduced in New York still draws connections between records and puts them into groups to help you uncover hidden patterns, but now it also automatically interprets the results. Starting in Orlando, you'll be able to see a new cluster concept column that summarizes the main idea behind each grouping. These cluster concepts help you quickly understand what each group of records represents. That might be repeated issues with a set of hardware, problematic network location, or a high amount of requests for software that's not in the catalog. We also include new dashboards that highlight knowledge gaps found in incidents and cases. We've also added the ability to set target metrics for classification solutions, so you can choose to focus on either precision or recall levels. This is a trade-off because prioritizing precision reduces the recall and vice versa. It's a balancing act that's unique to everybody. So we're giving you the controls to define the right mix for you. Lastly, you can now define custom stop words, so you can filter out the noise and optimize the solutions for your own enterprise language. This helps improve the quality of the results and ensures that each machine learning solution focuses on the most important content across incidents, cases, events, and knowledge articles. So these enhancements are available, again, with any professional or enterprise package that includes predictive intelligence. NLU Model Builder. The NLU Model Builder was introduced in New York. It's the engine that allows you to quickly build phrases recognized by a virtual agent, for example. Well, now we've made it even easier for you to manage how natural language understanding, or NLU, is deployed and used across your organization. In New York, you could see the accuracy of each NLU model before publishing. It's very handy. But you didn't have an easy way to compare the model you just trained against the one that's currently published. So in other words, it was hard to tell if the changes you were going to make to the model were better or worse, which seems kind of odd. So we recognize this, and starting in Orlando, we've added the ability to compare your test phrases against both the trained model and the published one, so you can validate that the changes you've made are truly ready to be pushed out. We've also focused on enhancing the day-to-day management of models. So instead of recreating the same entity over and over for each intent, you can now define entities at the model level and reuse them across multiple intents. And you can even use pattern entities to identify things like ticket numbers, email addresses, and phone numbers using regular expressions. This, of course, helps for consistency with the users and enables you to roll out NLU even faster. Finally, it's now possible to clone the contents of an entire model, including all the intents, entities, and synonyms. There's a word I have trouble saying sometimes. You can even take just a single entity from the model and copy it to another. These new management abilities are perfect for development and testing purposes, and also provide a great way to customize all the out-of-box models we ship. These enhancements, again, part of professional or enterprise packages that include Virtual Agent. And now for something new in Now Intelligence, Analytics Q&A. So the problem we're trying to solve with Analytics Q&A is that managers and executives can't get the answers they need quickly enough. They often don't know what dashboard or report they need to check, so they either waste time trying to find it, or they have to wait for someone else to get back to them to make the decisions they need. Well, here comes Analytics Q&A. It makes it easy for anyone to get their questions answered on the spot. Responses come back in the most appropriate form for each question, either as a list of matching records, a number that shows a calculation like count, maximum, average, minimum, or range, or charts that visually show a trend over time. And users can see the query that was generated by the natural language query engine, so they have confidence that it matches exactly what they asked for. This is really awesome. If you saw a prototype of this on stage, day 3, Knowledge 19 keynote, I had a hand in some of that demo, as did my coworker Tom Pasek. This is real now. We said it was coming out. This is limited access in Orlando. So we've already picked 20 or so companies, lighthouse companies, what do they call them? The premier customers that get this and give us feedback, and we'll use it and look for wider availability in Paris, which is our next release coming out in the fall. And if you want a little bit of trivia, you go to Paris in the fall of 2020, then Quebec in the spring of 2021, then Rome in the fall of 21, and the S release. Craig, do you know what the S release is going to be?
Step.
No, not Step. lot of people were going for Sydney. We're going back to our roots, where the company was founded in
Saskatchewan.
San Diego.
Oh, San Diego.
Saskatchewan's not a city.
I'm sorry, it just popped in my head.
Open saddle soap. You sound like the Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Right.
All right. Okay, developers. This section is going to be of particular interest. I know we're talking to developers the whole time, but this has got some real cool stuff. As web technologies change, we realize this creates technical debt. Technologies such as Jelly and AngularJS, they were great for their time, but we'll continue to support them in the platform. But we also recognize that new technologies appear all the time. Orlando introduces the Now experience. This gives you a way to configure the workspace technology, and going forward, it'll be wider spread than that, using your own custom components, free from the concern that the underlying technology will change. We've had the workspace experience for a while. I think 3 releases. Was it Madrid? I don't remember exactly when it came out now. I'm losing track of what features were in what release. But
yeah, I don't remember either.
We're going to be able to start configuring this in Orlando. So the Now experience is a single tech stack. Developers can use the ServiceNow extension for VS Code. We'll talk about that in a little bit on the next slide. And the Now CLI to create reusable web components. The CLI will be released in Orlando closer to that GA time in March of 2020. I got to get these. It's still January. My brain is still trying to.
Are you still writing 2018 on your checks?
The odometer hasn't rolled over yet in my brain. So both developers and no-coders can use the drag-and-drop UI builder to create custom landing pages in Workspace, with more configurations coming in future releases. So this is the first release. We want to get feedback, and then we'll roll it out more. Of course, the wins for you as a developer are that you get to build modern UIs with reusable components and reduce testing and upgrade times to protect your development investment from becoming obsolete from changing technologies in the future. I can't tell you how many times people ask me, when is AngularJS 2, 4, 6, 20 coming out to support Service Portal? Unfortunately, Google abandoned that technology and left us hanging, so we looked at this and said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah. This is going to protect that. This is available at no additional charge, so you'll be able to configure this. People have been asking us, hey, Workspace is nice, but we need a way to configure that. This is the beginning of that journey. So look for more information as we go forward in that. As I mentioned, in case you missed the announcement in November of 2019, ServiceNow has an extension for Microsoft Visual Studio Code, or as the boys in the club call it, VS Code. Mm-hmm. As you may already know, it's one of the most popular editors for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Craig will like that, right?
Yeah, it's me. That's where I love it.
That's what his ears pick up whenever I say that.
What? Yeah.
You can now use this to make it easier for you to build apps on ServiceNow. The ServiceNow extension gives you the ability to develop offline, synchronize, and compare your changes to the service. It even allows you to manage multiple projects at the same time. So I could be running on 2 different instances, for example. Hey, I got this code on my PDI and I've got this on my dev instance. You can tie into both of those at the same time. The editor also includes IntelliSense for code completion and linting with customizable linting rules that you can configure.
Yeah, very helpful. Yep.
Especially for scripting rookies. Yeah. You can even run code snippets in script background on your instance without leaving the editor. I love this. You just highlight it, right-click it, and go. It's cool. Mm-hmm. What this does is it empowers you to have fewer limitations on when and where you develop. So the extension is available from the Visual Studio Code Marketplace. If you search for the VS Code extension on the community, there's videos, there's tutorials, there's a lot of people getting involved with this. So I'm using it more and more every day. It's a lot of fun, especially when I say, hey, I migrated this code from instance A to instance B. I can just copy and paste in the editor, and there it is. I don't even have to think about logging in. All right.
Yeah.
New functionality here. In Orlando, we've improved the way you get your changes into production. Now Platform CI/CD is a competitive parity feature with other development platforms that kicks off in Orlando, and this again is the beginning of a new journey, so it'll continue to expand in future releases. Prior to Orlando, multiple teams were not able to efficiently develop on our platform. We know that. They couldn't do this in a seamless manner, and the deployment process was almost entirely manual. Yeah. 2008, kids. It was a good time. So you said we need a CI/CD enabled platform to automate end-to-end ServiceNow development and deployment processes in order to lower lead times, develop collaboratively, and reduce idle time. I should play like a special announcement. Like we should have a trumpet horn, something. So this is one. The Now Platform CI/CD. It includes improvements to source control. All right, this is where we're going to have some applause, and I can guarantee merging Git repository branches and support for multiple instances. It's out there anyway. I know it's going to happen. Support integration for local Git repositories via the mid server. Collision avoidance, selective commits. It's finally happening, people. I have a tear in my eye.
I can see it from here.
Jumping up and down. You want to get to Orlando as soon as possible. Go get yourself a free personal developer instance over at developer.servicenow.com, and you can have some fun too. Anyway, the CI/CD components, getting back to our story at hand, those components provide Integration Hub Spoke and REST APIs, so you can access those CI/CD apps like Jenkins, your existing ones, so your pipeline can trigger such things as ATF, health scan, the app repo. You can take your code and whether you're using Jenkins or the REST APIs, or excuse me, Jenkins would use the REST APIs, whether you're using Jenkins or Integration Hub, the Spoke that we provide. You can even use source control. The one thing that is missing right now is support for global apps, and I would love to have an inbound REST API trigger, be able to trigger the flow. So that's why a lot of people use Jenkins, because it's got the webhook to say, hey, I'm doing a pull request, and that can trigger Jenkins. Can't do that right now with this. But again, beginning of the journey, we want to get your feedback, find out what's what, and how this works. But think about it. If you get done with your code and you say push to GitHub, and you want to do a pull request, that could be the trigger that does ATF. When the ATF passes, you end up with the code in production. It's a wonderful thing. Look for a deeper dive on this in our March episode of TechNow, episode 74. I'll have Chris Faulkner on here, and we'll do a demo on that. It's going to be wonderful. So take a look at that. I encourage you and invite you. A lot of great stuff coming out in CI/CD. I almost need a drink of water, but we're getting close.
Take a breath.
Actually, I will. Okay. We continue to invest in Flow Designer and Integration Hub. That's a given. Here's a quick look at what's new in Orlando. A quick look, I say, because there's like 4 things on each of these slides. Flow Designer, of course, has added several new enhancements. One of my favorites is the data transformation functions. These give you the ability to manipulate and transform data pills within Flow Designer and Action Designer. For example, you can convert a date pill to a formatted string. You can add a duration of time to a date field, such as, hey, add 2 days to this due date. You could convert a string to uppercase. You can take an array and split it on a delimiter. You can take an element out of that array. A lot of, you can stack these things up. Very flexible thing. The idea is to reduce the amount of code that you need to write to build your flow, or custom actions to do something like that.
Now, these are a lot of functions that you could do in code, but now, like you said, you're trying to take it to more of the no-code level.
Right. And it's not to say that scripting is going away. We'll always have a scripting component available. But this just makes it easier to build and maintain reliability, all that good stuff. So another thing we've added to Flow Designer is dynamic subflows. These allow Flow designers to decide which subflow to run at runtime using a lookup or via a runtime parameter. Let me give you an example. You have a flow to process a claim, and the pill you pass could be some service level like bronze, silver, or gold, resulting in a different subflow to run based on that runtime parameter. We've also got SLA timers, something people who are legacy workflow users have been looking forward to. This allows you the support for the service level management. Again, another way to step off of the legacy workflow action or activity. I always say those two backwards. An example of this, At 50% of the target SLA, send a reminder email. At 10% of the target SLA, send an escalation. You can do stuff like that with the SLA timer in Orlando. One of my favorites in Flow Designer, I know I've got a lot of favorite things in here, don't I? is
I know, hey, they can't all be your favorite.
I can have, like going to an ice cream store. I can have a lot of favorites.
I'll take the butter pecan. I'll take the rocky road. And yeah.
As a parent, you're not supposed to have a favorite, but there's we'll go there.
I've only got one kid, so I can have a favorite.
We've got this thing called what change support. So it provides before values for records so that conditional processing may be performed based on the before value. Here's another example. So I'm a flow designer. I'd like to access the previous value of a record to determine if a change should drive conditional processing, like the state changes from work in progress. Sound familiar? That's right. If you've used business rules in the past, this is very analogous to the previous object. So you can do those comparisons and use that data that's been there. So rather than writing multiple flows with different triggers, you can have one flow support your process with conditional logic based on the changes that occur. Woohoo! No charge for this in Flow Designer, but it is beholden to the licensing implications of Integration Hub. So again,
I think you just made a word, by the way.
Implications.
Yeah. Sound like Popeye trying to. Anyway.
15 years. You see what I have to put up with?
That's right.
All right. Integration Hub. Because Integration Hub. The Integration Hub also adds the ability to do those data transform functions, as I mentioned, on those data pills. So as you're cruising over the data pill, there's going to be a little FX that shows up. You click it, a menu pops down, much like the action picker says, what do you want to do? What do we got? What are data types? It even suggests actions for you. It's kind of cool. This is extremely helpful when doing integrations and, say, processing the outbound request or the inbound request, because you may need to validate data before you can actually process it. This is a fun way to do it. Building on our dynamic input capabilities, we've improved our introspection ability. I'm getting a little tired in the tongue. Against meta-driven data systems, we now have dynamic outputs. Let me give you an example. This is one that I actually built out for a demo I had to give a few weeks ago. You can create one action to get records from, say, your CRM. Those records could be customers, contacts, or accounts. You really don't know until somebody picks the list in the Flow Designer. But you only need one action, and you get the outputs over on the data panel for any of those tables. It's dynamic outputs. You pick a table, they switch around. It's really cool. So as a Flow Designer user, you drop in the action, you pick the table, and the outputs automatically adjust. It's pretty slick. You've got those for the rest of the flow. As an action designer, you use additional actions. I can't remember the exact term, but you use them almost like subroutines to get the metadata that drives those dynamic outputs. So when the user picks the table, you go, oh, a table. Let me go ask the CRM what fields are in that table, and then I'll drive the outputs on that. So that allows them, again, to pick the CRM action, get records, whatever you call it. The outputs show up. It's really cool. If you pick accounts, account fields show up. You pick opportunities, opportunity fields show up. I'm not a CRM expert anymore, and I never claimed to be. Okay. Remember data streams? They came out in New York. They allow you to do large paginated records like, hey, give me all the TechNow videos that ever existed. We now support mid-server support for data streams, and you can reuse the data stream actions anywhere using a data stream API. You can also speed up that pagination building process with pagination templates. So you can create a template and go, hey, you know what? This API works a lot like that API, same pagination scheme. Let's reuse that. So you can speed that up rather than go, what was the demarc? What is the parameter? What is the JSON property for that? Makes it a lot easier. We've also, okay, if I have to pick one out of Orlando that I really...
Here we go. Another favorite.
No, this is the one that gets the 2 gold stars, 5 gold stars, 2 thumbs up, whatever you want to call it.
6 thumbs up.
We've consumerized the connection and credentials with a simplified UX. You can create a pattern or template, and we ship a number of these out of the box. So if you get a Slack spoke loaded, you have the Slack template. What this means is you go to the record and say, I need to create the credentials. It prompts you for like 2 things. What's the client ID and what's the client secret? And it builds out all those 4 or 5 records on the back end that are in this crazy laid out format. We recognize this was kind of convoluted, especially with OAuth 2.0, but this allows you to build those and make it very easy for somebody to come in and put in their credentials.
Yeah. Even seasoned people had trouble, would always have to, it would take a few minutes to try and sort all that out. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this gives you a way to build easy and extensible authentication, even for request signing, like with AWS APIs and custom authentication framework. Still working on speaking skills. Craig, you'll like this one, being an orchestration person. We've added orchestration migration to Integration Hub, so you can migrate the client software distribution into Integration Hub. We've also added support for SFTP and Managed File Transfer Protocol.
Oh, so that's nice. Very nice.
Yeah. We've built an Integration Hub usage dashboard, which includes features like password reset and CSD, that client software distribution stuff. And speaking of the ServiceNow store, which I will be on this slide, Integration Hub spokes are prepackaged integrations from third-party systems. We call these spokes. Okay, that's you kind of figure that out. If you're new to Integration Hub, spoke, kind of get the nomenclature there. The spokes are these prepackaged activities, actions that you can use to do those integrations. And if you're not already aware, the Integration Hub app has 4 packages. Each package that you see there on the screen is cumulative. So Professional is comprised of its own spokes plus Standard plus Starter spokes. We publish these spokes monthly, out of band of our 6-month major software release cycle, because they're independent from our core code releases, which means you can be more agile with your releases and updates. The starter package is available free for anyone who has a Madrid SKU or later. Again, if you want to talk licensing, I'm not your person. Your account rep is. So talk to them about that. And as of the New York release, the previous one that came out in the fall of 2019, docs.servicenow.com now publishes the spokes available in each Integration Hub package. You can also drill into each spoke and see the information about the specific actions, the spoke supports, and other details about that spoke. One more thing before we get off of this topic. Oh, I'm sorry. There's 2 more things. Got to look ahead. The application repository, or app repo. You may be aware of this. It's how we move our scoped applications between instances. ServiceNow uses it to distribute apps to you, our customers. It's also used by you, as I mentioned, to distribute apps between your instances within your company. And it's also used by partners to distribute applications to ServiceNow customers via the store. Until recently, customers and partners only had the ability to share internally, as I think is how it was labeled, which would entitle the apps on all internal instances. We've now built an interface which allows you to see all your uploaded apps, manage instance entitlements, delete uploaded apps, and I love this feature, release app scopes so you can reuse them. So if you want to use that one called demo 4 or 5 times, someone's going to have to go to the app repository and delete it.
Test.
There's no charge for the use of the app repo. It's part of the Now platform. All right. Next up, we have the app client. What's the app client, you ask? That's that screen that says, here's what you've got to install, here's what you have installed, here's the plugins, all that good stuff. And we've added some nice enhancements to the screen also. What you've been telling us, dear customer, is that it's difficult to identify tasks that need to be done, such as deactivation requests, imminent and expired contracts, or purchased but not entitled apps. Sounds like a name of a band. I'll go with that. You also said that you're not aware that there's store apps that are compatible with your existing assets that may provide value to you, and you had to manually install dependent apps and plugins in the proper order. So, where's that trumpet blast? Dun, da, da, da. The app client has been enhanced with new indicators that address all of those issues by highlighting actionable tasks, providing store recommended apps, and auto resolution of plugins and dependencies. No charge for this part of the platform.
Very cool.
We love that. Almost at the end. This is the last section.
Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and release.
Yeah. Limber up, crack the neck. Here we go. We've also got some other enhancements on the foundation. You can stay on top of your database, your metric-based data, anomaly detection. Metric-based is our time series database that was introduced a few years ago. I think it's been around for a while. So
it's at least 3. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
You can stay on top of your data with metric-based anomaly detection for complex objects and insert data without relying on sysids. Somebody who's more involved with metric-based is probably more excited about that one than I am. It's a great feature. I know about it, but I don't use it every day. You can easily configure password policies to enforce good employee behavior. Hooray for those security people who say, you got to have numbers, letters, and one of these symbols.
Right.
And Instant Security Center now includes antivirus scanning. Ooh, a lot of stuff that's going on.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. We've also updated ATF with more tests and automated lists and related list manual tests. I think the goal I heard yesterday was something like 2,000 out-of-the-box tests for this coming. So
wow.
We're going to provide a lot of information to get you going, test faster, upgrade easier, all that good stuff with ATF. Instance data replication, which came out in the last release, allows you to pass information between ServiceNow instances by doing just a configuration. No REST APIs, no brittle integrations, nothing like that. No script. You configure IDR and away it goes. Well, we've added a dashboard to monitor data exchange. Plus, we now capture those IDR replication sets using update sets. And Service Portal has a widget diagnostic tool, which I am eager to check into. I have not looked yet, but I want to look at that because I am doing a lot of Service Portal right now. We also offer dynamic translations and performance improvements. I'm all about those performance improvements. Finally, and I think this is the last bullet I've got, Guided Tour Designer now includes tour IDs for better management and skippable steps based on roles. Yeehaw!
Tour ID, so like it knows where you left off kind of thing?
Well, you can identify them easier, so you can say this is the incident request, or this is the incident approver, or this is the incident.
Okay.
You give them IDs like incident _review. So it makes it easier to manage than going by title or looking through a list. It's just IDs is just a nicer way to identify those.
Okay.
So it is. Let me give you a quick reference, and then we'll see what questions we have time for. We are coming up on the top of the hour, so. Real quick, if you want to know more about Orlando, go over to docs.servicenow.com. The documentation has been updated for that. We also have community.servicenow.com. If you've got questions about that, go get yourself a free personal developer instance where you can try out Orlando. All the APIs and whatnot have been updated. We've got the bit.ly link there that you can see for episodes in the past. We've got a whole bunch of them. Let me catch up with the arrow. This is episode 72, so we've been doing this for a number of years, as we mentioned at the top of the show, and the Success Center as well. If we don't get to your question and answer, please don't fret. You'll hear from us. We will answer them offline. So, Craig, with that, I expect some pretty deep answers, and I don't know if I'll be able to answer them all, but let's start the Q&A.
I got 3 questions that popped up, and I think I believe this first one is related to the Flow Designer enhancements for the pill changes and stuff.
Yep.
It says, will there be improved support for time zones and offsets? That's all it says, so I'm not sure exactly what that was referring to, but I assumed it had to be the pill updates. I'm sure some of those changes will be in there, right?
Well, I have insight to some of the enhancements on the roadmap for Flow Designer and Integration Hub. I haven't heard of that one specifically. my best suggestion for you to be go to the community, click on that idea portal link that's at the top. Our product managers do read that stuff, and get your friends to upvote it, because that way it'll get higher on the list. Kind of that dig mentality. And they'll say, oh, a lot of people want date transforms. I want date transforms. Adding time zone or taking the time zone off, it would be very, very helpful. It's a little dicey when you're talking about multiple regions and whatnot, but it's crazy in script. It's awful on the client side. It can be challenging. So anything to make it easier, absolutely, I would love to see it. Please go put it on the idea portal for me, for the children.
For the children. And does the CI/CD functionality support subscription scoped apps or only custom scoped apps?
Currently, at this point, it's scoped apps. I haven't heard whether subscription is in or out, but it's because the GitHub repo and whatnot. It's scoped apps. We are looking at enhancing that in a future release. I can't say which, but Chris Faulkner will have more information on that in the March episode. So we are looking at extending that out. We know that Global doesn't play with the CI/CD stuff yet. So we've heard from you. We had a lot of great discussions with some big customers who say, this is really what we need. We've had some attempts at this in the past. This one really got a lot of focus. I remember somebody stopping me in the hallway at Knowledge I think they talked CI/CD for probably 20 minutes. And I went, that's awesome. I'm for it. Let me get you in touch with the people who can work with that. And we've had those discussions with many of the large customers who say we need scalability. Internally, this was called dev at scale. You may or may not have heard that term before. So that's really what the focus is all around. And what you're seeing here is not the final solution. This is like Flow Designer was in Kingston. Good start. We got more coming, and want to get feedback from you, the customers.
All right, so this last question, I assume, has something to do with the VS Code and the integration and stuff like that. It says, is the Now CLI available already, or is this going to be available later?
The Now CLI is coming out shortly. It's not available at the time of this recording, which is January 28th, 2020. So look for that closer to the GA release, which is March 2020. I pixelate that part. I don't recall the exact date. If I did, I'd share it, but it might change, so I can't say it. How was that for a disclaimer? So look for that information coming up. And also more enablement material on how do you build these custom components and what do they look like? Because these will be more and more in the future. We want to be able to put widgets on the ribbon, put it on that agent assist side thing, maybe even drop things on the form, allow you to do the whole form layout. The roadmap for this is, you've seen the UI for Workspace. At least I hope you have. If you haven't, go into ITSM or something and take a look at Agent Workspace. That interface is going to be pretty much predominant over the classic. Everybody in development. This Now experience, I heard a number affects 2,500 people in our R&D department. So developers, the product managers, everybody across the board is migrating to this as a standard UI experience. So your components will be reusable, not just in Workspace for ITSM, but pretty much anywhere in the platform. And if what I heard yesterday is correct, don't quote me on this, I may be misinterpreting it, it'll even extend into portals. So again, reduce that technical debt. I don't want to build things again. I've built them in Jelly. I've built them in Angular. I'm going to learn one more technology, and that's going to be this Now Experience thing. If it changes again, I'm leaving.
And that's the end of Chuck. No.
Not to say I'm against learning new things.
Well, we've gone from procedural programming in the far past to object-oriented, so you can reuse your objects and classes and stuff. So obviously you want to reuse them here. So,
All right. I think that takes care of it. Again, we will answer the rest of the questions offline in the next few days, get them posted to the community, and send you a message with a link directly to that answer. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We do have on-demand webinars. If you go over to ServiceNow.com, you can find those there. And with that, I think we need to play the music. I'm Chuck Tomasi, and you're Craig Stepp, right?
Yes, I am. All day long.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.